All right, I've welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it today. So markets here today. Spiders down about $8. So pretty good decline there for the spiders. We were down about 2% at one point. Just over like 20, 30 minutes ago. We did actually scalp this level here in the trading room. We talked about 49.20 as being a level that should hold, and it is holding right now. We're getting a little pop off the lows. A couple of things, though. There's a lot to go over. So CPI came in hotter than expected, like definitely hotter than expected. And the market clearly was not prepared for that. If we take a look at the 10-year yield, something I've been talking about ad nauseum, even gotten a lot of pushback on this, but the rates aren't going, much lower, and that's kind of been the case here. And the move here in the 10-year tells me that market was offside. So 3.5% move for the TNX, big move there today. Obviously, that's driving the market lower here, but we are coming off the lows. There's a couple of things going on. Spiders here, volume 86 million. It's 354. So we'll probably jump to 100 million by after hours with the market on close volume and stuff. But it's OPEX week, right? Like we got to be a little cognizant of that. We're coming into this trend line here. There's the SPY, and it kind of coincides with that 20 moving average. So a couple other things, like look at SMCI, right? If this is a real fear case, then this should be blood red right now. The ARM was down, ARM down 21%, but that's also up 100, was up like over 100% in 3 days, so that's something to consider. You also have NVIDIA here flat to lower. I think we're going to see some single stock pinning here. Maybe NVIDIA 700. You got stocks like Microsoft close to the 4 handle, right? Maybe Meta 450, those types of deals. SMCI, maybe a 750, 800 pin. We notice that we didn't take out yesterday's high, much less on a closing basis. So you still have that tail candle with volume. So that's still acting as a little resistance right here. But again, if this is a real bear move, the bears don't even necessarily need to do anything. They just, right now they could just come in with a lower high here from this pivot and hit this trend line again in the 20, and then you could get kind of that daily chart lower low. So, but right now, it's hard to call anything because we have an OPEX this week. It's very tough. And now we're starting to come off the lows here. So pretty good little squeeze, and now we're back above this pivot low. So there you go. And that was the level we talked about in the trading room all day long. That is 49.45, 49.50 on the SPX. So just like that, right off the lows. So that's why it's important to see that follow through towards the end of the day. And honestly, bears really didn't even need to. One of the things I was talking about as well is I think the bears would have been fine just to hold us right here all day, and then maybe a little dump into the close. But I don't like that kind of afternoon dump. It opens the door for a V shape. Look at what you're going into here. This is a pretty good area right here. A lot of chop there, and then that pivot. That's right where we went. 49.20, wow, above 49.50 now. So 49.55, I think there's some gamma sitting there. That's probably where we'll close. Let's see, there you go. So that's why you don't want to make too much out of it during OPEX week. They can do this stuff, right? They burned out. Everybody was offsides as hell with calls and put selling yesterday at 1 o'clock. And now, they can get the other side offsides on the put side. So just be aware of that. Trend line's holding, but take a look here. If we do come in and put in a lower high, that's sort of that bear case there. But I think a lot of this is OPEX flows here and trying to push kind of both sides in whatever direction they want. But nice action here. Lots of volatility. You have 49.50, 49.45 areas, so that's where we're going to get pinned to. But see how quickly that comes off the lows there. And Spider's only down 1.5 now. Still a big down day, but not down 2%. Take a look at the VIX. So that was up 28% about 35 minutes ago. And look at that. So pretty good drop. We got all the way up to basically an 18 handle. That's the biggest move we've seen from the VIX, I think, since the Ukraine invasion, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just kind of eyeballing that. But look at that big outside move there. Huge move for the VIX. We have expiration tomorrow that is known to bring in volatility. And we'll see if that can continue. My guess, though, is that we probably have to put in lower highs. I don't think we're just going to puke down again, especially given now what we just did off the lows here. I wish I had held that scalp now. But given what we've done off the lows here, but, we'll see tomorrow. And then next week will be the weekly close, and then of course next week will be the real tell here. But for bears, you got to see a lower high here. For bulls, it's simple, just V-shape it tomorrow. All right, triple Qs. Again, I talked about SMCI, NVIDIA. It was interesting. So Qs gapped down harder than everything else. Let's just look over here. Gapped down harder than everything else, but then kind of had an outside move after the first hour or so, whereas the spiders barely made an outside move, and it took it really to the middle of the day to do that. So Qs have been holding up well. Again, notice how we just barely pierced double bottom there. We actually used the NQ to scalp a little while ago, right off those pivots. So picture perfect there. A nice bounce there for the QQQ. Again, we'll see. We are kind of slicing and flirting with this rising wedge trend line. We'll see if this rally up tomorrow. Do we close back below it? There's lots of things that can happen here. But again, bottom line still with the Qs. And there is volume here on the Qs for sure. So more so than the spiders. That's noteworthy. But there is, the bottom line here is lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. If we have lower highs, that opens the door for that pivot to get taken out, which would be a lower low. And then you can say, okay, we've done daily damage to the chart, and we can look for a price to be in a corrective mode here. There's the bell. Let's take a look. 49.53 close for the SPX. All right, Russell 2000, what a fake out, right? I mean, you're not going to see a fake out like this very often. 1, 2, 3 bar surge. Usually what happens after that is you get a inside hammer, some type of pause candle, and then maybe you can consolidate and go higher. This is just wiped out 3 days of price action in one, down over 4% with volume. Big time volume. The most volume since, the last year. So we got to go. Let's roll the tape here, because it's clearly, let's go 3 years back. So the biggest volume since the Ukraine invasion. That's an outside move. And what have I been saying lately? Like, show me, Russell. Show me you're going to be outperforming for more than 3 days. And again, just like Lucy with Charlie Brown, whip that football right from underneath them. So big outside move down, needless to say, for the IWM. Look at the weekly there. Tried to get up to that level and reversed right back inside of that wedge. Short term, we'll look for this level 191.50. And we'll see, the weekly close will tell us a lot more with this, since it's been all over the map. But what a reversal there for the IWM. Diamond here down 1 1/3, still closing above the 20 moving average. A little bit of support at 380. Looks like it hit that a little while ago. Yeah, just kissed it, 380.50 or so. Again, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Do we do that? Next level for this is around 375, 377, and then through that, the big one is 370. SMH here down about 2%, but did come way off the lows. In fact, it made the low in the first candle of the day. So again, we talked about this NVIDIA, SMCI, some of these other names getting bids here. They're still holding up, still kind of ping-ponging inside of this little wedge here. Again, like I said, nothing to say. This can't just come down and then pin right back up, one more time. So again, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. That's the story of the day. There's the SOX, a little bit on the softer side, down 2%. Cloud software finally came in, held the 20 MA, but down 2 1/4. Maybe a little fake out here on IGV. Weekly close will tell us a lot more, especially if you close below that low. That would be an engulfing candle, and I think that as effectively you could say that's like a pseudo double top if we were to reverse off of that. But first real sign of weakness in IGV in a long time. So that did come in pretty sharply. Dow Transports here, that did not come much off the low. So that was definitely on the weaker side. Down 2.6. We held the 50 MA. We held this green bar. So that's your positive. But again, came down on pretty good volume. Again, we'll see. Pattern is going to tell us a lot here. Weekly close is going to tell us a lot. If we take this candle out on a weekly close, it would be a negative. You still have an inside bar pattern. That's your big positive. But again, I need to see a lot more here. I need to see more. Again, this could just be another one-day event. We had one of those a week or two ago, and the market just, said F you essentially to Powell. We'll see if that happens again tomorrow. But transports here, definitely coming back in, definitely on the weaker side. Let's take a look at We'll pull up rates in 1 second here. Sorry, I just lost my chart there. All right, sorry about that. Just bear with me. There we go. So 2-year. Again, so there's your inverse head and shoulders. There's your target 4.7. It should get there. It's not that far away. This will be some daily chart resistance. So it's going to need to consolidate if it wants to go through that. But pretty good move. Got back about 4.6. And yeah, it only has about 10 points or so, or 10 basis points, whatever, to go to get to that target. Could overshoot to 4.75. By the way, the yield curves today coming back in on the 210. 3-month 10-year did uptick. So the 3-month came down, but 5s, 30s, 10s, and 30s came back in. There's the 3-month not really doing a whole lot, but the 10-year, big outside move there. 4.3, we've been talking about that. You know, a little bit of resistance. There's a lot of kind of zones. There's the 100 MA, there's this pivot, there's this pivot. So right in this area, 4.3, 4.35, maybe 4.4, you've got some pivot lows there. That's going to be resistance. If it gets through that, you know, it's up to 4.6. 30-year, 100 MA, right? We're through this. This is on breakout. Next pivot is 4.6, 4.62, and then 4.75. That's your big level. 5s, which I forgot, is right into this pivot here, but it closed above that, closed above the 100. Next big levels, you know, 4.45, 4.5. So yields on the move. And again, they're not going to go much lower. If they do, it's temporary. XHB down. This is a big move for XHB. And again, like I've been saying over and over, I would prefer if that 20 MA was caught up to price. And that's why it's probably failing to break out. It still is above all these pivots here, you know, essentially, even despite being down 3% on the day. Again, weekly close will tell us more. Do we keep fading? If it does, it could be a failed breakout, especially if you close below 93.80. So just watch XHB here. It's not dead in the water yet, but definitely a pretty good sell job. VNQ down 2%. So big gap down. That lost the green bar low. Again, weekly close will tell us a lot more with this one. But definitely a sign of weakness there. It's holding the 200 MA for now, though. XLF outside move down 53 cents. Again, weekly pattern is still okay. There's nothing really wrong with it. Still a little overbought from the 20. But if this just goes sideways, this can consolidate that move. So just be aware of that right now. KRE, right back down after yesterday, down 4.2. You could be setting up now. So what did we say yesterday? After the failure, the close below, you could be setting up now lower highs. And what do you have here? Wide range red bar and prices inside of that inside bar pattern. If it sets up a base here, it can go lower. So careful with the regionals. There's KBE, same look, although it is above the weekly level for now. And then broker dealer is pretty good reversal there, down 2%. Testing the 50 MA. We'll see if it breaks below that. That would be the first time since November 13th. All right, oil here. So up 81 cents. Actually took a paper cut on this one earlier today. Pretty strong, though. Very strong price action. Up move. This is the 4-hour up move, bull flag. And we just rallied up here right into these pivots. So it needs, you know, it might need to stall out, do some backing and filling. But I mean, as long as my thesis has been, as long as rates are up and holding up, oil should hold up. It's not a perfect correlation, but if yields are on breakout, I think, you know, we'll give crude the upside bias to 80 to 81.50. And if it gets through that, it can go to 85, 86. So, again, I don't know what to make out of this chart sometimes. I mean, look at this outside move, weekly engulfing, and then, you know, just like it never happened. But this should be following rates for the most part. By the way, if this breaks out, guess what? CPI for next month is going to be even hotter. So just be aware of that too. But crude acting well. XLE, I think this was just a victim of the rest of the market here, right? Because it actually gapped up. There we go. Come on, there we go. It actually gapped up a few pennies and rallied with crude being strong, but then kind of selling just kind of took over the market. It hit everything, but this pattern here, you got up move sideways. This can continue higher. So that pattern's firming up. XOP, again, it backed off, but again, if you put in a higher low here, it can go higher. And the OIH, same thing. So these energy plays are a little interesting down here, so long as oil holds up. CCJ, I don't know, guys. Are we going to do chart damage on this finally? And I mean weekly. We have not had a weekly lower low on CCJ. Yeah, really since the bottom. I mean, unless you want to, you can count like this. I don't really count that as a pivot, though. That's not really that good. I mean, maybe this one right here. But, you know, this pivot down here, 41.17, if we take that out, that would be significant because that'd be the first time in a while we've had that happen. And again, you guys know, obviously, I'm looking at 41.95, weekly green bar low, as well as this pivot, 42.17. So lots of little levels here for CCJ on the weekly. That will be important to watch Friday's close. URNM's in way better shape, though. This still has some support around 50 if it gets down there. And then, of course, the green bar low at 47.14. But finally, leadership. CCJ showing a lack of leadership, rather. And, I mean, you know, it's up so much. It's parabolic. You know, you guys know the deal there. But it's had a great run. We'll see what that looks like on the weekly close. Nat gas continuing to languish down 5.6. Again, I'm still looking for a signal that this is ready to put in a low. I need to see this puke before the COMEX open. I think that's really going to do it. You can see this morning we kind of had, we rallied down yesterday, or we sold down yesterday, then we kind of just floated up. That's not what you want to see for capitulation. You want to see a close like we have now, and then you want to see it like this by the morning. You don't want this up move. You know, that's not capitulation. You need to see them get blown out to the downside, and that's how you get that V shape and the short squeeze there. But this is continuing, and this is, by the way, down to, it's not that far off the COVID lows now, which for the futures is an all-time low, which is mind-blowing to think about in this kind of environment. But nat gas is getting attractive. Dollar index, pretty good outside move here, as you'd imagine, up 71 cents. 105 is short-term resistance, right? Pivot low right there. So it's going to need to consolidate. But if it goes higher, it's going to 106. And then if it goes through that, it's going to complete this inverse head and shoulder, excuse me, inverse head and shoulder target at 107. By the way, still nobody cares, right? But dollar yen ripping higher. We'll see what the BOJ does tonight. Gold under pressure. What I've been saying here lately, once TNX gets above 4.2, expect gold to do something, and it is. Outside move down. There is support at 1987. A little bit of a minor level here at 2000 whole round number, even number Pierce, 100 MA. But 1987 is my next level, and then 1975 area, 1970. Through that, it gets a little bit more interesting. But those are just those short-term levels I'm watching. Be careful with gold here. If yields start to really rip up, it's going to come down. That's been my thesis for a while. I've been very transparent about that. Same thing with silver. You can make a case that this is a head and shoulder. I don't love it, but you can make a case. Either way, I still think there's a lot of support down here if we were to get down there. That could be a tradable low. Platinum down, but not terrible. And then palladium down, but not terrible as well. Again, I think platinum and palladium are a lot more, I mean, palladium's at a multi-year low. So I think there's less downside, relatively speaking, than gold, silver. So I still like platinum, palladium both down at these levels. Copper today, just kind of all over the map. Look what it did, though. It tried to get back above this this head and shoulder pattern, and it closed back below. So we'll see if this just bases down here. It's telling us it wants to go down to 3.6. All right, lastly, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin here, really kind of an uneventful day. It did pull back off of 50K. I think I said we would likely do that. But really, all in all, just an inside hammer. So Bitcoin's still acting well. Look at the intraday yesterday, and then we dumped out with the market. Actually bottomed a little bit before the market, bottomed around noon, and then up move, little bull flag there, and then it pulled back to popped back to the near the highs of the day. Again, nothing really wrong here that I'm seeing in this space. ETH holding up okay. Polkadot, Doge, Litecoin outside move. Solana still very strong. Cardano still holding up here. Again, I still like these weekly patterns on Cardano Matic. And Bitcoin's, weekly is just fine. It never has been bad at all, as I've mentioned multiple times. I think it probably has to do some backing and filling and stalling out 50 to 52. Yeah. But again, pattern wise, there's no problems here and the trend is up. You guys look at this separation between those moving averages, that spacing out. It's a good sign. So Bitcoin acting okay here. All right. Again, markets, let me just see what the futures look like as we're just kind of about 415 now. Yeah. So we just V-shaped up to the, this level here. Big level. I'm very interested to see how we open tomorrow. Do we gap down? Do we gap up? Do we gap and go? Again, it's certainly possible. But again, bottom line, all we need to really worry about here is lower high. Do we take out 5K and put in a lower high here? We get back below this trend line and take out this low, confirming a lower low. And the same thing goes for the triple Qs and all the other indices. That's really all that matters right now. Don't overcomplicate price. Don't think about, they need to fake out this, they need to fake out that, or bulls this, bears that. Just look at price. Do we put in a lower high or not? If we do, the market's vulnerable, and I think we'll go into corrective mode. And we'll talk about levels if and when we get there. But right now, again, take everything with a grain of salt here. It is OPEX week. We have VIX expiration tomorrow. The VIX did show what it can do a little bit here if it becomes unpinned. So we'll see how that plays out here. But again, we'll take it one day at a time, as per always. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.